you. I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item is the public input period. Is there anyone that wishes to discuss anything with council this time? Seeing none, moving right along. Motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Thatcher, seconded by Fisher. Unfinished business, continuation of the discussion of the draft financial plan, recreation service review. I'll just turn this over to Lois because she didn't have anything to say on Monday, so now she has to go.
Get my turn now. So I think we've got 45 minutes before the phone call.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to move quite quickly on this, just because of the time constraints. I'm basically going to go through exactly what I've given you. Because of the adjustments that are going to be in here, I suggest that you take the information away and review it, and then we could perhaps have maybe one last CAL meeting, where basically we just come back and if there's any questions or queries, I can cover them then. And then hopefully we can kind of get the budget wrapped up then. So the first sheet that I've given you there is a revised capital expenditure. So anything that's in yellow is basically has been adjusted. Either the ranking's been adjusted or the value has been adjusted. I'm not going to cover these too much. I'm going to let Darren talk about these in a moment. But basically, because there's been so many adjustments from what we've previously talked about, the financial plan needed to be revised. So I'm just going to skip straight over that and move on to the second sheet that I've given you. So the second sheet I've given you is basically all the special projects that we discussed. I've included on there how they've been funded. So quite a few items. We had basically taxation in 2013 for them. So for example, the Badham software, because we had it in the 2013 taxation, I've basically put it in there again for 2014 with funded from the taxation from 2013. Again, I'm not going to go over that in too much detail. I'll let you kind of review that at your own leisure. Okay. So the second sheet after that is basically a revision of the equipment replacement program. There was just an error in the first copy that I gave you, so you can see the 190,000 in yellow, so that's just basically putting that in like it should have been in. And then the sheet after is how I've proposed that we're going to fund the equipment replacement program with that 190 revision. Okay. So then after that, basically it's the 5-year financial plan, updated for one or two things that we know about. It's updated for the capital projects, the special projects, any grants or anything, because I don't think I had the small community grant in there. I think that's in there now. So just the whole financial plan has been updated for those adjustments. So just all the rest of the pages is an update of the financial plan. So I'm going to kind of skip straight over all of that for you to review at your own leisure until you get to the copy where it's called the Bylaw 2484. So as we discussed, I've gone through and I've looked at the recreation. It's not in a great amount of detail that I think we should be at, but at least it kind of gets us started. Is everybody okay with what I've said so far? Because I'm going fast.
I don't know what page
I'm just trying to catch up.
It's, keep going until you come across Bylaw 2484.
Got it.
Okay.
I do.
Yep.
Is everybody with me?
Yep.
So that's a yes. So basically, Bylaw 2484 is our current bylaw for how much we should be charging for the arena. So I've taken this information and I've compared it against Trail, because they're our main competitor in the area, and some other areas, I think Vancouver. So those are some of the charges there.
You said you compared it to Trail in Vancouver?
Yes, just because from the last meeting we spoke about Vancouver and how much they were charging and people coming up from the States, I ran out of time to compare it to
Right.
other people, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not great what I've done, but it gets us started. So that's the current charges that we have is bylaw 2484. But the main page I wanted to discuss is the recreation and facilities review, which is the page over. And basically that is our recreation department compared against the trail budget for 2014. And I've looked at it in terms of our recovery percentage. So for the Roslyn Pool, for the budget for 2014, we've actually got a recovery percentage of 41.9. So I've compared that against the trails budget, and without taking administration into account, they only recover 40%.
Without administration.
Without administration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the actual ice arenas, we actually cover 38.8%, whereas...
Can I get, you're saying ours includes administration, like we're looking at the pool?
No,
that-
ours does not include administration.
does not.
I'll come down with, I've got administration on a separate line.
Okay, I see. Okay, so, and also with trail, they have an estimated recreation administration line too. So all the things above, neither of them, oh, I see, you've got it over there, recovery with admin. Okay, got it, sorry, I got
Maybe
it.
we should just let her speak and then...
Well, before she goes too far and fast, I want to make sure I'm keeping up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry, I'm just concerned of time constraints, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
So the ISA rink, we actually recover 38.8 compared with trail of 30.1. Our parks, we recover 4.2% versus 1.7% for trail. On our recreation programs, we recover 86.4% versus 61.7%. Then taking into account our recreation administration, ours costs $132,000 compared with trails at $190,000. And then the other main area is the curling rink. We actually recover 67.9% versus trails at 46.4%. Trails is actually worse than that because later on I've included, so actually if you just want to go over 2 more pages, you'll see that there's a memo included for the trail. That's regarding their curling arena. So that actually talks about, they're actually saying they recover 46.4%, but when you actually read this memo, that's if they actually manage to actually pay up what they're due. The curling rink has not been able to pay their fees for the last couple of years, so they've actually had to write off. So their curling rink actually is worse off than that 46.4%. Okay, they're actually trail at the moment, the curling rink, because their curling club cannot actually afford their fees, they're actually reducing the ice layers to 2. Is that how you say it correctly? Is that right?
Sheets?
The sheets, thank you. Yeah, they're actually reducing their number of sheets for next winter, and then
Really?
monitoring how much of a cost it's going to save them, to then try and realign what their actual fees are to how much it's actually costing the city.
Well,
Darren had mentioned that.
oh, sorry, I wasn't here for that.
Oh,
Okay.
how many, to 2 sheets from how many, 8 sheets?
No,
Darren?
to 6 sheets, they'll be getting rid of 2
Oh,
sheets.
getting
They're
rid of
getting
2.
rid of 2
Oh,
sheets,
okay.
so from 8 to 6 sheets.
Okay. And then after that, I've just included some Vancouver ice fees, just in terms of, you'll see what their actual fees are compared to what the City of Roslyn's are. So I'm not going to go through that either. The last thing, the next thing that's in there is that package. This is actually where I've taken the trails budget from, so you can actually see where the actual percentages of their recoveries come from.
Okay, Lois, I need to slow down just a little bit. I'm
Yep.
trying to look at this. It doesn't help me if I won't remember anything you
Yeah, that's
said.
okay.
Okay. So we've got Vancouver, this whole thing is all Vancouver, these 2 sheets?
Yep,
Right there, right?
but you'll see on the right hand side there's a column which is basically, I've actually put the City of Roslyn's
Okay.
fees on there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. So this booklet is just for your information only, in terms of this is what Trails Recreation Department's at, how much their figures are and their recovery are. Obviously they're a much greater beast than ours, but in terms of if you look at their actual recovery percentage, we're actually better off than theirs. And then I just included the prices of the Warfield pool, just because if you're not going to go to the trail pool, the Warfield one is the nearest outdoor one. So you can actually compare the cost in those. So I know I've gone through that very fast, but I want to give Darren more time to talk about the actual capital expenditure and what changes are in there.
Interesting.
I didn't know we were going to talk about capital today. I thought it was just rec.
This one, the yellow?
Yeah, the very first one with the yellow. So I know I went through that very fast, and this is going to substantially, well, it does change the budget in terms of what capital we're looking to spend. So I'm suggesting that you take that away at your leisure to review it. Any questions, email to me, and then hopefully we can just have one last COW meeting where we actually finalise the budget.
Can we just ask a question now? I think it would be helpful to know this information for like Nelson and Castlegar rather than Vancouver, in terms of, I don't know if that's possible.
Okay.
I would kind of disagree and just say we should have a Maine and Rosslyn solution. I mean, part of this is really seriously looking at what recreation services we want to offer, period, not just if we compare to someone else. Because at the end of the day, it's our budget, and we have to be able to cut it back and increase it where we see fit, and hopefully it makes sense. Some things that I was going to ask questions about, or I can ask them later or send them by email, are actual utilization of the. There's income,
Yep.
and there's actual utilization, and we have utilization gaps.
Yep.
And then I know like from my standpoint, I rent the ice for a team from Nelson, and we come back here to practice, and there's not a lot of ice. So when you look at it, if there's not a lot of ice at all, there's not a lot of available ice for the times that I need it.
Yeah.
I needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think what I've provided is adequate at all. I've just provided what I can do with a time constraint. AGLG has taken up a lot of time, and we kind of agreed that we would try and get the first draft of the financial plan done by the end of February.
Yeah.
So I've simply done what I can do in that time.
No, and I totally respect that, but from my standpoint, just looking at it from, my standpoint, we're looking at, what, a 7% overall increase?
Yep.
Well, from my standpoint, I'm not going to be voting for a 7% increase. So I'm trying to find ways to, look at areas that I can hopefully say we can generate more revenue or some other things to offset a few things here and there. But at the end of the day, when this comes to a regular council meeting, I'll be making recommendations around this budget. So if we don't deal with some of this stuff now before we get there, then it's going to be a big surprise for everyone.
That's fine, but then I would say that brings us back to the conversation of how do we want to complete the tasks within the time frame of what needs to be doing, because we talked around to the end of February because I need to get to the year end. The auditors come in the midweek of April, and currently as it stands, I'm a long way from actually managing to complete the year end. So I mean, we talked about in terms of we could park the budget until after the year end's complete. That would take us to middle of April. Then that only gives us a very short time frame again to actually complete the budget before the May 15th deadline. So, I mean, I'm kind of estimating that 6 weeks to do the year end. I may be able to do it in 4 weeks before the auditor comes in. And then I've got 2 weeks where I can focus on the budget again, but I can't guarantee that. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. So,
Is it-
I kind of throw back the question in terms of, I understand that you're not happy with the recreation, what I provided, and I totally agree. But I'm just struggling in terms of where do I kind of allocate my time then?
That's fine, I guess what I'm telling you in reverse.
Yep.
is everything that you said is perfectly legitimate and fine, and I'm not blaming anybody on
Yep.
our staff at all.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna come and say, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone, and then we're gonna have to vote, and people are gonna have to say whether they agree or not, and then we're gonna get a 7%, and I'll be voted down, or we'll get something else. But I'm telling you, this is what's coming.
Yeah, let's go to Tracy first.
Your Worship, and I think that's what we've been sort of waiting on each of the
Yeah.
last couple of COW meetings, is for those recommendations to be made of where those cuts should be.
Well, you can't
but
make,
we have-
you can't do that unless you look at the whole thing first. I can't sit here and say to Darren in his department, oh, I think we should put that off a little while longer until I see everything, because there might be something else that I think has less priority than what I'm seeing in his area. So now that we've gone through absolutely everything, and there's been revisions every time.
Go back to Tracy.
So if there's things that you need from us so that you can make those decisions, please let us know.
It's really, what I'm saying is it's nobody's fault, because we're going through this. We have to go through absolutely everything first, and the revisions and changes and stuff that are being made, and then look at it and say, okay, here we are. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Councilor Moore?
Quick question, would it help you to, if we brought in a temporary person who could do some of the maybe lower level grunt work that would, I mean, you've got an awful lot on your plate. Is there any way that you can get additional minds on the job?
Your Worship will be talking about that later on tonight.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say likewise, because, you know, we have done similar in the past where we needed to get some temporary work help in here, and, you know, I mean, we're caught, as usual, between a rock and a hard place, right? And, I feel the same way. You know, if we can, I mean, we as council have to ultimately come up with the decisions around what we want the financial plan to be and what the tax increase or not we want to be. And, you know, and again, you know, the regional district budget impacts us too. So, you know, I mean, we've tried to start planning early, and we're looking at all these numbers, but I guess what I'm looking for is some suggestions from staff to council of where are some cost cuttings that we can still do? Where are some of the things that we can take out? How could we do that possibly, or turn it over to us and say, like Councillor Fisher said, we're just going to go through and start doing this with a pencil, because
But I think-
7% plus, you know, RDKB increase, it's not feasible in my mind.
But I think that's where we're at. I
Okay,
think that's why
well,
we've been
good, then
going
we
through
need,
this whole
we
thing,
need to
right?
all do it, and we all need to think about it
But I
seriously.
mean, and, you know, we hit this 7% number pretty hard from time to time, and when we did Columbia, Washington, we did say to the citizens that it would be around $100, and that's 7%, right? So we did say that. So the citizens know that that 7% is out there. They should know. I mean, we had no objections to the AAP process, whatever. So that 7% is basically for Columbia, Washington. So we, and I know for people that have been on council for more than one term, have been through this budget line by line for how many years?
Yeah.
Right? And we've tried very hard to keep any increase to zero. So, and staff have been very good at that. And what I think, in my opinion, we're at the point where there isn't a whole bunch of money to pull out of anything. What we have to do is cut services. So, if we're gonna cut services, it's up to us at this table to say what services we're gonna cut. You don't need any more information from staff. You don't. You just say, we cut this, and you make a motion, and we cut it. That's where we're at. There's no more wiggle room on shutting a loader down for 10 minutes to save $5 on fuel. There's nothing like that. It's cutting services, which means basically cutting manpower. Basically, that's what it means. And if you don't understand that, we haven't been paying attention very much to the budget process for a long time. Go ahead.
I think we understand it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Thank you
but
for
I
the
mean, but-
teacher part. No, just,
But we
no.
can't
I
keep
under-
asking staff to see where they can find more
That's
stuff.
fine, then that's fine, that is the bottom line, then, and
That's
that
my
is fine.
point, the bottom
And we
line.
did, when we embarked on the Columbia Washington Street, revitalization program, we knew that it was going to be costly. And I remember sitting here and saying myself personally that I thought it was pretty extravagant, so I'm just gonna put that out there. It's a beautiful thing, and we all love it, but obviously we have to pay for it for the next 30 years. $100 is underestimating. $100 is saying on a $250,000 property. That's an average. In fact, that's a low average, I would say. So it's going to be more than $100 for most people who have any kind of a single-family dwelling home. But that's fine. If that was the bottom line, I'd be fine with that. It's the regional district and the percentages that are going to come out of there that are also going to affect us.
But
So it's
Counselor-
not just $100. Let's not fool ourselves.
Counselor, and I know there's a whole bunch of hands that want to jump up here any minute. We have very little control over the regional district. We explained to our citizens a long time ago that Columbia, Washington is going to cost $100, and that's exactly what it came in at.
Mhm.
Now, if we wish to subsidize the regional district budget by cutting services, then we can do that. But that's exactly what we'll be doing. And quite frankly, $100 on the average household, which maybe my household's 102 and maybe yours is 105, they aren't huge numbers. They are numbers that we
Yeah,
explain to the
yeah.
population for sure. And if we want to start cutting services, we better all sit around and think about, why do people move here? Why do people come here? It's been expensive since the year it was formed. The tax complaint has been out there forever, but you know what? People move here. People move here with kids. People move here because of what? Because of what we have. And there is a price to pay for what we have, and people understand that. And to say that because our taxes are so high, people are going to migrate down the hill, some will. But unfortunately or fortunately, some come this way. And we have to balance that. And if we're just going to say we're slashing services that entice people to come here, we better be careful, because then we're on the very slippery slope.
I don't think we're on a slippery slope.
Ms. Butler?
Worship, I would just suggest due to time, you should let Darren take over and talk about the
Sorry,
capital.
Carrie, but she had her hand up.
Thank you.
I just want to hear from Carrie first.
From my standpoint, in reality, like I said before, when we talked about other recreational services, we've added Tourism Rossland, we've added a Trail Society, we've added all these things that we find essential. And then there are some other things that perhaps are areas that aren't being used as much. And I'll use the curling rink as an example. It's just an example. If it's not being used as much, and I looked at the thing and now that we have the numbers on it, there's not a whole lot to be saved, say, if you shut the curling rink down. But that is a mind gymnastic lesson that everybody has to go through. We have to go through that lesson, absolutely. And others. So, I know you love services there, big guy, but
It's not that I love them.
we can't just keep adding services.
I don't so.
Unless everybody wants to continue to just completely increase taxes every year. You know, we could add a Ferris wheel and then add $100 to everybody's roll and we'd have one in town.
We could add a park at Ophir.
Anyway,
That's about it.
that's my point.
Darren, go ahead.
Okay. So on the sheet, everybody got the first sheet I was highlighted in yellow. I'll just go through the changes that have come about from some discussions out here, and also some discussions that I've had with some of the guys at the shop, as well as an engineer. So to complete the structural upgrade in the curling rink, we originally I had it ranked as a 2, and we discussed how the priority. So you'll see my new revised, taking into consideration the liability and the risk associated with any of the liability, in my opinion again. So when we look at the structural upgrade in the curling rink, I've moved that to a 4. meaning that
Can I
it's-
just ask, sorry Darren,
Yeah, sure.
I'm having a really hard time seeing this, and I know that it's not the first line, so if you can just give me a little bit of.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is the first one.
It is the first line.
Very first line.
Oh, that is in there. Sorry, thank you,
Okay.
sorry.
So I've moved that into 2019 plus, just simply, the arena's been there for how many years? And I did talk to my uncle Jim, who's been heavily involved in the curling rink for years. He remembers back when they removed snow off the roof, when it was an asphalt roof, the size of refrigerators, and the structural has been improved. Since then, it certainly hasn't decreased. And the new roof material that we have on there, I have yet to see it any more than, say, 6 inches to 8 inches accumulate on there. So I think our risk is fairly low. So I moved that over. Third line down, I did have this is a risk assessment that was done by our safety auditors that I should have been working on 3 years ago. There's still some things in there I have yet to understand why, and that's why I've just got $5,000 in for 2014 and 15. There's still some more investigation to do.
Can I ask a question there? I thought we were just focusing on the 1s and 2s for 2014. We've got 3s in there too? You've got it ranked as a 3.
We do. You'll see on the things that, I do have it ranked as a 3, but I would like to throw $5,000 at that. The dehumidifier, no change. I'll just go to the ones that changed. So the next third yellow box down is the snow barrier in front of the curling rink stairs. That initially was, I don't have it in front of me.
65.
Yes, thank you. 65,000. I've talked to a couple of guys in-house, and they feel we can do a structure for $15,000 that will not be certified by an engineer. You know what, nor would the other one would have been certified, but there's always the small print saying that they're not responsible for it, so. Put that, it remains as number 1 because I think it's important, but I think what we have come up with, I think would work at, at $50,000 difference, so.
Good job.
Fifth one, or fourth one down, Queen Street. I've moved that up to a 1. It's funny, there were some documents that the United Church sent to us that I wasn't aware of back in the Andre days of when that wall should have been replaced. And, I mean, just with seeing that and knowing that it is moving because we do get it surveyed, I've moved that to number 1. Next one.
And is that $200,000 a firm number, or is that
No.
a placeholder? Might it be less?
Yes,
Okay. Likely to be less?
hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
But you'll see on that one that we actually budgeted 182,000 in 2013, so over on the right hand side you'll actually see there's only 18,000 in the 2014 taxation.
Excellent.
Oh, so that's still there.
Thank you,
Okay,
that's great.
I have, and you'll understand why for later on, but the 2 blocks in Pinewood that we have continuous problems with water, the AC water line blowing out, I moved them to 2015, and
That's Spruce and Cedar Maple Crescent. Is that right? Is that the one you're on?
and then the next one is Tamarack and Spruce.
Okay.
And the reason why they're a little bit different in priorities because the block from Tamarack and Spruce, that we've had more water breaks there, and we know that line is, like a lot of other ones in town, is compromised.
Okay, but you
But
can put it as
Those
a
are
2,
one.
but you still haven't put it into 2014.
No, I haven't, and you'll see why coming
Okay.
later on. We only have so much work money too, so.
Right.
Washington Street project, that's just and that's based on, grant funding. And now you'll see it's a 1.9, but you'll see for later on with the water and sewer, so Lois and I have split out estimates on the water and sewer portion of these jobs too. Anything that has to do with, complete rebuilds with all of the infrastructure. Red Mountain Resort, I put that at a 4. There, if you look back into our old, back in the Victor days, there was $100,000 for 3 years. We've paved it, we've curbed it. The next phase would be sidewalks and streetlights. $100,000 is not going to do it. And I'm not sure what we're going to do with it. I just wanted to show it in here as because it was being carried forward from other commitments.
Darren, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Is that the entranceway to Red Mountain where you actually drive in, it has nothing to do with Caldera, so it's
No.
expected they're gonna have sidewalks and streetlights along that
So
entranceway?
that is on a wish list of Red Mountains.
Yeah, well, I'd say, we'd like a couple sidewalks in town too.
Yeah, as a core, couldn't it get moved out beyond 2015?
Oh, yeah, it could be, yeah. Cook Avenue upgrades, that's the part that, and then Lois shows it as being funded out of 2013, taxation. Again, you know, I hear the conversations here, and that's why it's been put off for 2 years, is you gotta look at places to cut back.
Which one?
This is the
Which way?
ballpark?
This is the ballpark.
Okay.
And that would be drainage along the, toe of the bank, because it is sloughing, so
Mhm.
Cooney Avenue is actually sloughing into the park slowly. I had a geotech look at it, and he does, you know, it is happening, it's not a huge risk, but it is sloughing.
So Darren, saying you wanted to do it in 2014, or you
No,
put it in 2014?
It is in 2014,
Okay.
yes.
If it's,
But if council
But it's
seriously
budget,
looks at
mhm.
cutting, you know, parks, you have a breakdown of what the costs.
would that actually come under the park budget, or would, it's actually the roadway that's sloughing, so wouldn't it come under roadwork? Has really nothing to do with the park if the road's sloughing.
It's the drainage of, yeah, I mean, it could be,
Yeah.
Jim, if the park, like, if we got rid of the park, I would just fill it with material.
Hmm.
I would just
Mhm.
dump a bunch of material over there, that'd be the end of our issue. But it would be unsightly.
But that's
And-
already
and-
been
and
taxed
maybe-
for, that was taxed for in 2013. Okay, thanks.
Okay, next down is the pool fence. So from our last talks or discussions in one of our meetings, it is the wish of council to keep the pool going, so the 30,000 is there, and the pool fence I reduced from, have it again in front of me.
17 it was.
What was it?
17.
17 down to 12. And that's because our engineers are telling us that the pool life expectancy, you shouldn't be expecting for sure any more than 10 years, and they're estimating, 5 to 8 years structurally, without any major structural upgrades. So I've tried to decrease that, because who wants to spend a bunch of money on something that, has only got another 8 years in it.
So the 12,000 is for a patch.
I mean, it'll look good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just that I won't be redoing the whole sidewalk in front of it, I'll just repair the fence, and the water line is leaking into there.
Go ahead, Lo.
Just to let you know that there was actually 10,000 already allocated in reserves to that, so there's only 2,000 in 2014 for that.
Mm-hmm.
The 30,000, I've retained an engineer from Kamloops, they're coming down to visit it. From first indications, I'm hoping I can easily do get rid of the gas chlorine for well under that, and replace the non-slip floors. So things are looking okay there. So going down, I misled, I guess, ISL when I asked them to give us a cost estimate on Washington for what I wanted to be shelf-ready for grants, and it is shelf-ready for grants. So the estimate that they gave us
Great.
was to tender it for, do the tender, do the award of the contract to that basis, so. And of course, the more detailed design on sidewalks and the intersection of Fluin Way, so.
So that was the 55,000 is
Yes.
something that you had in there? Okay, great, thanks, man.
Yeah, so it is ready, so if there is grants available, it's basically ready to submit.
Mhm.
Now, here, this Spokane Street, so Spokane from First to Columbia. When we did Columbia Avenue, the video that we had taken of the sewers, the sewer coming from Yesling Park Lodge to the Shell station there, not quite to Columbia, because we did extend beyond limited construction there, is in really bad shape, to the point that the camera can't even get up up the pipe. So, with looking at that and talking to our pipe fitters, we are all in the agreement that we would rather do this street than a street down in Pinewood. Feel that the risk is a lot less in Pinewood than it is with this block. So I've moved that ahead on the priority list.
Darren, I just stop you
Yeah.
there. Because Esling is such a swamp, with the pipe being in such bad shape, is there considerable I&I in that pipe?
That's a good possibility, yes.
Hmm.
But again, good camera,
Right.
right? So to know that,
How many manholes do we have to Columbia from Esling Park?
one.
Just one?
Um,
There's not one in
we
between?
put one right in front of the,
Lodge.
no, that's an old brick one that's caving in.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also installed one at the daycare because of we had an issue with their service line.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of degradation of that pipe, is that going from the lodge to the daycare, or from the daycare to the street out here?
It was from the street here to the daycare,
Mm-hmm.
and then we cambered from the manhole at the lodge
Mm-hmm.
towards the daycare, and couldn't get through there either.
So both ways are,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's deep. It's, 3.5, 4 meters.
Wow.
Can you abandon it and just put another, can you dig another
Lift
line
it
and
up.
stick it
Put on
in?
top.
Do you have to remove
Because you
it?
have the sewers from First Avenue,
Linking
all the
in?
way from George Ferguson's house,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
they all come that way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So, we might be able to lift it up somewhat.
I was just looking at coming to the first, but you've got to replace that manhole too, you're saying?
Yes. Yep.
Great.
So that's why you see that there. And then I've also added in a bunch in 2017, that's the Earl Street connector, so that's still in the same area, that's Spokane up to, Earl down first, the Shell Alley, we call it, all up in there. But,
Darren, are these the ones that were on here before as new and we just didn't have details on them? Or are these really new ones from what, I mean, I don't have our.
No.
Are these brand new?
go ahead.
No, sorry, they're the new from the last one, but
Okay.
what we've done is, as we talked about last time, we needed to split them over the water and sewer.
Yes.
So they're not new additions, they're
Great.
just how they were.
Thank you.
Darren, on these, is that us laying the pipe,
No,
contracting it out?
yeah. These are unit rates that I combined from the prices that we got on Columbia Avenue,
Mhm.
along with a couple of other small jobs that we've done in the area.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, again, I mean, those prices can fluctuate a lot depending on how busy the contractors are. Okay, First Avenue, okay, and then same thing, First Avenue, kind of Washington, that's in there, so that's just continuing along First Avenue, knowing that the water line and the sewer line are old. But if we do this job here, then I can camera that line once we get down into the ditch. There's possibilities of lining, some sewer lines, that might save some dollars, but until I get the commitment from council, we, really don't wanna spend money exploring it.
Just so I know, you say that it's split, is that 134, 142 twice there? How does that work? One says First Avenue, Spokane to Washington, and then Spokane from First Avenue to Columbia. That's the same, the estimate's exactly the same in 2017? It's just a different one? Is this a fluke?
No, what this is, Lois and I talking today, she asked, or we talked about that block there,
Mhm.
putting it in the 5-year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, rather than go back and punch all of the unit rates in, because it's about the same length of a block, we just
Okay.
used the same number.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was so far down the line anyway,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
So Darren, you've got Cook Avenue Ballpark here at 80,000. That's different than the drainage issues you talked about up above for
Yeah.
80,000?
That's just a mistake.
Oh, it is? Okay, so we can just take that one out?
I think I duplicated that.
Okay, that's great.
I think that's my
80,000
error.
less.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I
okay.
think that's
Yeah.
That's my fault, I
At
think.
the bottom, take it
No
out?
worries.
So, yeah, take the bottom one out for the 80,000. I've duplicated it.
Okay, we moved, there's the only reason it's highlighted, the fencing out Fern Star Gulch. We
Wait,
moved it to
one more thing, the
Sure.
Columbia Washington sidewalk, still on page
Mhm.
10,000, what was that one?
Oh, down in front of
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
The sidewalk last year heaved on us. And so it, when it settled back down, it went back down. So we're monitoring it this spring to see if that was due to the construction, that there was a pocket of, I don't know whether it was, because we didn't dig down that deep underneath the sidewalks and there's a sewer line there. So we're seeing if it heaves again. If it is, then the engineers are thinking that the drainage coming between Las Vegas and the Rossland Grocery, that we may have to dig on the private land there and put in a French drain to collect that water.
Okay. Would that be the responsibility of anybody who worked on the project, like the engineer or Copcan?
They say up to, well, I mean, of course, engineer, takes full responsibility, and they said there's no way we can go after Copcan. Because they did according to contract, they did according to the MMCD, everything they did.
Okay.
Okay. And that, I mean, if it doesn't heave, I'm not gonna touch it, I want to look for a couple of, areas of the sidewalk Okay, fencing, we just moved to 2019 plus because of the, what I feel is a very low risk. And the only thing that I'm waiting for is a report back from the dam safety officer from Victoria on Ophir. Because they are not, they don't care about the people walking on the dam and swimming in the reservoir. It's not there, but what's happening is the people are taking rocks off of the dam, the shielding basically, and they're building stairs and they're throwing it into the water.
Oh, and
So
diving
come on.
boards and tree swings.
it's now,
Really? This is all going on at Ophir?
well, what it's doing is just taking the shield off of the fines underneath, so he's not happy with that. So,
Can we sign it, or would you like?
it's totally signed, we signed, so, I guess what I'm saying is, backing his recommendations, it may be to fence that end of the reservoir.
The down area.
Yep.
Maybe we need that electric wire bylaw after all.
Where's the estimate for that fencing?
I don't have it in there.
Oh, right out,
Trees.
okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and because I won't know for sure until we get that report back from him. How we do it for time, Jay?
Not good, so.
Okay, okay, lowering water lines, I had 2 more this year, so I think that's up to 23. So rather than 21,000, and not doing it next year, I've moved it to 30,000 and starting it this year. The generator at the treatment plant, I still have yet to get the Tony, our electrician, but we're thinking 20,000. They are available. The big generators are available out of the coast, so if in an emergency situation, worst case scenarios, we're down for 2 days. But we would have the switch gear and everything ready for basically bring it in, plug it in, and we're able to roll.
So $20,000 is to get it set up to take one that we rented? Is
That's
that what you
correct.
said?
Mhm.
Wow, okay.
Okay. And then you see, those are the Pinewood jobs that have been moved to 2015 to reflect the Spokane. Over here. Trying to- Okay, and then Washington Street, that's just broken out now, the water broken out of the total.
All the ones below that
And all
now
the
are
ones
just
below
a
that
split.
are the same. Just split out of the, same thing on sewer. There are no ones on sewer, I don't think so. They're all just broken.
So these are the water ones on this page, and the other was the sewer, is that right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
last page is sewer.
Okay, perfect.
And again, we just took percentages, we didn't get into detail, we won't get into detail until we get the drawings of exactly what we're gonna do, but we just took a 25-35 split of sewer and water.
Great, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In camera.
yeah. Take a
You
motion.
can always
to-
come back after.
Yeah, I think a motion to recess the in-camera,
No.
what is it, 91, seconded by Moore, all in favor?
Aye,
Carried. Pardon me?
aye.
I kept, you're making.
Sorry, Sarah, we gotta boot you out.
Yeah. Now, is this a temporary recess, or it's just for the night?
It could be it for the night.
Okay, I just have to.
If you wanna leave, some way I can contact